Welcome back, guys. You're probably wondering what this is in the background. These are adjustable target stands. I'm getting ready to paint them. But what we're going to talk about today is, have you guys ever considered maybe building some stuff, but you're not sure how to price out your work or how to do it? Well, today we're going to talk about what I do and how I price out my stuff. Let's get going. What we're going to be talking about today, guys, is order of operations. And for you guys that are doing a little welding and stuff on the side, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to price out your work and how to make a little bit of money and arrive at a price. Now, what this is here is it's a target stand for target practicing. Piece of wood goes down in this. This set screw tightens up, and there's another set screw here. This is all adjustable. It's not really about what this is. If you want to know how I built this, there's a lot of information on it. It was a flux core welding project. I'll put a link up above and you guys can check that out. But the first thing we're going to talk about is order of operations. So one of the first things that I do is that I know that if I have to build more than one of something, that I will build the first one. I will build the first one complete so that I actually have a pattern to work from and that I know that it's going to work the way I want it to work. And once I'm to that point, then I can confirm everything that I need. And then that goes on to my cut list. As you can see here, I've made enough to build 6 of those target stands. So then what I do is I select one material, let's just say this for example, and I make as many as I need out of that one material. Once that's done, I stack it up neatly like I've done here, and then I move on to the next stuff that I need to make multiples, to make duplicates. And then I cut all of these. So once I have all my pieces cut and stacked up the way I need them, then I'm done with the cutting operation and I can put away my cutting tools. Then I move on to the next order of operations. For this next order of operations, I chose drilling. They all had to be the same. So I built some stops on my drill press that aligned these individually. Then I just drilled all of these, and I drilled a hole in each of these where a nut gets welded on. So you can see that there's like a consistent theme here. So I go from cutting, and now I've moved on to drilling. Get everything drilled that I need to get drilled, and then we move on to the next process after that, and that just happens to be welding. So I start with my smaller components, and that means that I needed to weld on nuts onto each of those. So that's what I did, got that completely out of the way. And just for reference, that's what these are. This is the nut piece here. Bolt gets threaded into it. That's what we were talking about that clamps the strapping. And with all these nuts welded on, then I would move on to these tubes and weld nuts on all of these. Once I had that part done, then I would break this assembly down into smaller sub-assemblies. So for instance, I would take off this piece here, and I would begin the assembly of this piece, of all these components. I need 6 of these, so I'd be building 6 of these. I'd have the components right in front of me. So we need one of these, we need this size tube, which that's the 1¼ inch tube, and we need one of these angles. I would put 6 of these pieces in front of me and I would just build all of this. And then when it came time to do the other side, I would do just that, then build that side. I know that some of this stuff may sound self-explanatory or foolish, but you know, when you get going on these things, sometimes you just get into a rhythm that you're not really thinking if you're actually being the most productive, but you actually feel productive. So you build your first one because you have a template, but that's not the best way to build them, is just doing one at a time. Make all your cuts, do all your drilling, do all your welding. That's kind of the outline to all of this. So now that we have down this order of operations, this is where we're going to start calculating what to charge. And again, this is how I do it. I'm sure there's programs and other ways of doing it, but this is what I do, is how much does this cost? How much does it cost me? Because if it costs me $31 and I sell them for $32, that doesn't make sense, right? So this is where we begin that process. So for me, what I do, if I have more than one that I'm building, is when I start my second assembly, because we've already done one, and that was kind of our learning curve. Now we're doing our second one. When I begin assembly on the second one, I start timing myself. How long does it take me to assemble all my pre-cut pieces to fully weld it out? So for our little test, let's say it takes 20 minutes to assemble one of these and fully weld it out. So I've jotted that down here. Now this is what I do next, because you may not use every inch of your material, or you may only buy like a full length and only use half of it. So this is the way I do it. I take my material, which in this case it's 3x1 by 120, and that's this right here, just so you're aware. And it says that that's 24 feet long. Because I'm in the United States, we use the imperial system, so I convert this number into inches. If you're using the metric system, you can use centimeters, millimeters, whatever works for you. But in our system, it's 288 inches equals 24 feet. I try to determine what my material costs me per inch. So full length of this is 77.37 for 288 inches of it. I just divide that out. Divide the amount by the number of inches, and that gives me an amount of what I break even at per inch. So for me, it's 27 cents an inch. So this material right here, for every inch of this that you see, it costs me 27 cents. Each of these legs are 8 inches long, so you've got 8 inches and 8 inches, so 16 inch total for those two legs there. Multiply that times 27 cents an inch. 16 times 27. And that's what your cost is just for that. And then I do it for that material, and then I do it for that material. And just so we have an example to go by, let's just say we figured out all the inches of our material and our cost, and we came up with a cost of materials of $9.50. Now that's not the actual cost. I don't know what it is. I haven't done the math yet, but I'm just doing this so we have something to look at. So right now we know it takes us 20 minutes to assemble one of them, and it actually costs us $9.50 in material. And then the next thing is you got to figure out, your consumables, your wire, your electricity, your wear and tear on your blades, and abrasive and cutting discs. Well, for that, again, this is just how I do it. I figure $1 per inch. So if this weld here is 2 inches long, that's $2. Here's another 2 inches of weld. There's $2. So 4 inches of weld, $4. Add up all your welds, and that's how I cover my consumables. Then you just got to come up with a labor cost, what you want to charge for labor. Let's just use a number of $60 an hour. So $60 an hour for labor, about 30 minutes to cut. So you've got 30 minutes there, and you've got 20 minutes up here. So 30 and 20, that's 50 minutes. So I would call it an hour a piece to build these. So $60 an hour plus $1 an inch for your consumables, which includes your wire, electricity, abrasive discs and blades, plus your actual material cost. And that's how I would arrive at a selling price for these. So again, with order of operations, what I'm trying to do here is I'm doing a task all the same, so I'm just set up one time. And you can see I'm just grinding away that paint on those. It's just not productive for you or me to do one, weld on the nut, then get the grinder back out, and then grind off your paint. You try to keep the order of operations all the same so that you're tooled up one time to do one job, and then you can put that tool away. Plus it helps keep your space organized. Huge for organization. You guys that probably follow me kind of get that gist already. It's just something that's, I guess, born in me. I like order and whatnot. And the reason for doing things this way is efficiency. Bottom line is the more efficient you are and the quicker you get this done, the more money you make. And that's what it's all about, right? So now we fast forward for a little while. We've added some additional orders of operation. And what I've added is a piece of 2x2 metal to this. So now you can put a piece of 1x3 strapping in here, but you can also put what's called a 2x2, which measures 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and it has a set screw as well. So now they're just a little more universal. The only other thing you could add to this would be a receptacle for a 2x4, but I think that would make it too heavy, and not a lot of people use 2x4s to go target practicing. And that just involves welding this piece of tubing to that. But you can see I'm one short. So I ran short on material and I had this piece that was welded to it. Well, I need to get this piece off of it and grind it smooth. So let me show you what I did. Now, I did a review on one of these Lennox discs a while back, and it was my first time using one. If you guys aren't familiar with this, this is a diamond cutting wheel, and it's designed to cut metal. But a lot of you people have said how it's jumpy and it vibrates around when you go to cut. Well, I might have a solution for that. I did a review on this a while back. It's made by a company called Graph Black. And again, this is a diamond blade. Same idea as that Lennox one, and it's considered professional. It's non-directional. So let me show you. I need to cut off this weld. So I mounted up that diamond disc and started cutting it, and it cut through it extremely fast, and it didn't vibrate and bounce around like a lot of you guys have been complaining about. And I think the reason for that is because that it's continuous. It's a continuous rim all the way around. So there's no vibration. I think these holes right here, if I had to guess, are probably to help keep the blade cool, because if the blade's not segmented, it's gonna heat up. So, and in the directions it says to cut for a little bit and then back it off. These are the performance tips. It says to avoid overheating it, don't exceed 50 seconds of cutting, and then just let it cool down for 10 seconds. So that's pretty reasonable. And it says it's up to 1,000 cuts. So that's pretty good. I think this constant diameter of the blade, though, is going to keep it real smooth. Let me set you up and you can see how fast it cuts. I really like this blade.
Now, as you can see here, all the red tubes that you see in this video, it's left over from another project. But the one thing that some people will tend to do is give a discount because, well, I've got this material left over, or it didn't cost me anything right now, so you don't charge for it. Don't give your stuff away, guys. You know, this cost you something at one point in time you purchased this material. So factor it in. This is 2x2 by 1/8 inch tube. So get yourself a price from the metal yard and factor this into your project. Don't give it away just because you happen to have it laying around and you didn't price it out just at this moment.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. Now I just got to grind this smooth with a regular grinder, and I can use that for this other piece here. But yeah, no chatter whatsoever. So if you guys have issues with the other ones chattering, maybe this is worth giving it a shot. I haven't had it long enough to actually say what the longevity of it is. Yeah, it seems pretty promising right now. If you guys want to know more about it, I'll have a link down in the description. You guys can check it out.
So now it's just a matter of cleaning it up, getting it shaped up, and matching into everything else, and you'll never know.
Probably hard to hear in the workshop because I got a lot of fans going right now because it's hot, but that's one of the reasons why we're using flux core for this project. So now that we got the nuts welded on, here's just another order of operations. Once I had all the nuts welded onto all of these pieces that you see in the background, then I went through and cleaned off all the flux from the self-shielded wire, and then I went through and ran a tap down through every one of them. That way you know when you screw in the bolt for your set screw that the threads aren't going to be all bunged up. So we'll do one right now. You know, again, this is all time that you got to factor in on building this. A little bit of cutting fluid. And to save time, I have it mounted up in a drill. It's just a tap. What I do is run it in and out a few times. And you can see I have it loose in my chuck. That way I'll have a tendency not to break this off. So how do I know that having them loose in the chuck helps them prevent from breaking? Because I broke in a couple already. So learn from my mistakes. Keep your tap loose in the drill if you're going to do it that way. Just this process alone of putting the tap inside this drill saves a pile of time. And if you're saving time, you're making money. So that's the key when you do these things. Don't cut corners, but try to be efficient. Make sure you're wearing a respirator, guys, when you do stuff like this. Look at the difference here. I was actually having a hard time breathing through the respirator, so I figured it's probably time to change them. And they're cheap. And it's good prevention for your lungs, you know. And there we go. So yeah, go from that to that. Now the key to this is finding ways to speed up production. Not cut costs, but speed up production. Because the faster you can bang these out, the more money you're going to make. Now when I figure $1 an inch per weld to cover consumables, I think that that's a little high, but that covers for sure my costs. The welding cost is the variable. I mean, whatever you charge for your labor rate is what you charge. You know, what is your time worth? These adjustable target stands are a great beginner welder project. You know, you're not going to want to go out and charge somebody to build them a trailer if you don't really have a whole lot of welding experience. There's a huge pile of liability in that, and you're going to need insurance. But, you know, for a weekend warrior or DIY person or someone who's just starting out, these adjustable target stands are an excellent project to learn on, because if the weld fails, other than, you know, your name or your reputation of having a failed weld, that's the only thing that's going to happen. The liability issue, there's not a whole lot of liability in this if your weld fails. It's not a structural component, so it's more decorative than anything, you know. You know, don't sell yourself short. Don't give your stuff away. Thank you guys for tuning in. There's new videos uploaded every Friday, so if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. Maybe hit the notifications, give a like, and a comment down below. Until next week, I'll see you guys then. Take care, stay safe, see ya. Alright guys, I'm not going to just not show you what the finished product looks like. You didn't think I'd do that, did you? So I painted them with Rust-Oleum hammer finish out of a quart can and a HVLP gun. Just a cheap gun. So yeah, you can see what it looks like. Got the hardware in it. Got everything all suspended, hanging and drying. So yeah, they're done. That's what they look like. A few runs here and there, but you know, whatever. They're target stands. Be alright. See you guys. Hope to see you next week. Bye.